Hello, and welcome to this presentation on ISTE standards for coaching. My name is Gladys Johnson, and this is course EDCI 567. To begin, let's talk a little about what ISTE is. ISTE stands for the International Society for Technology and Education, and their focus is on transformational teaching and learning. Throughout the years, ISTE has developed standards which have been amended and modified over the years, but they are widely adopted around the world, and they provide a roadmap of how to use technology in the field of education. And the goal is to create high impact, sustainable, scalable, and equitable learning experiences for all learners. So let's dive into what we're going to be talking about today, which is specifically the ISTE standards for coaching. So several schools have either instructional coaches, digital learning facilitators, technology facilitators, technology coaches. So these are the standards that encompass the work for these positions within our schools and our education systems. So, as we explore our coaches' roles, there are 7 ISTE strands to help coaches in this transforming teaching and learning. So, those strands include being a change agent, a connected learner, a collaborator, learning designer, professional learning facilitator, data driven decision maker, and a digital citizen advocate. So let's start with the first one, coaches as a change agent. So as a change agent, this ISTE goal says that coaches will inspire educators and leaders to use technology to create equitable and ongoing access to high quality learning. So let's talk a little bit about what are those important elements and what that looks like for a coach. So some of the elements within the sub-objectives of those ISTE standards include a shared vision, equitable use of technology, goal setting, and support systems. So, what does that mean? This is all about being a change agent and changing the culture of your school. So that means meeting with your administration or instructional leadership teams to develop this shared vision of what technology and instruction should look like within your school, developing the protected role of the coach, because it's important for a coach's duties and responsibilities to be laid out and protected, as well creating a safe and trusting environment and culture to support and achieve shared personal goals of educators. Trust is a key element to coaching and forming that relationship with your teachers. And you also want to develop a culture of appreciation and validation. The learning curve for using technology is not the same for all teachers, where you have some teachers that are ready to cannonball in. There are some that are just a little reluctant to dip their toe into the water. So we must meet people where they're at. We must appreciate their growth and their transformation and validate them in the things that they're doing. And as well, provide peers with avenues to network and connect with other experts and resources in the field. These are those things that a coach should do in order to be a change agent. The next standard is being a connected learner. So, as a connected learner, the coach will model the ISTE standards for students and the ISTE standards for educators and identify ways to improve their coaching practice. So, some of the elements in the sub objectives of being a collected learner is about modeling. You are being the example. So, in that, as a coach, you are pursuing your own professional development and learning. You're growing your professional learning network, staying abreast of research and best practices, and reflecting on the work that you're doing to transform our schools and districts. So, what does that look like in particular? So, a coach should be fluent and understand the ISTE standards for educators and students. As you're working directly with teachers, understanding what their standards are, and the goals that they're trying to achieve, as well as what are the ISTE standards for students, is almost like everything overlaps each other. So you must understand your own standards as a coach, but in order to help your educators help their students, you need to be fluent in their standards as well. Participating in professional learning opportunities that are relevant to the role of being a coach. And that could be technology PD, that could be ISTE certification for coaches. Join and participate in professional learning networks. Twitter and social media are great avenues and resources for growing your PLN, and other organizations. And be a reflective practitioner to improve your coaching and learning practices. The third strand is coaches as a collaborator. Establish productive relationships with educators in order to improve instructional practice and learning outcomes. So, collaboration is about relevant relationships, and as well, the word stems from co-labor. So you're putting in the work with those teachers and leaders that you're working with. It's not a one-way street. It's a two-way street, just like any relationship is. So you're going to build relationships. You're developing appropriateness. You're being culturally relevant, creating those partnerships, planning and modeling. So what does that really look like? So, as a coach, you're building onboarding and enrolling coaching processes that's going to build trust and relationships with your teachers, getting to know them, interest surveys, letting them know that you're not there as an evaluator, but you're really there to assist. So you're building that relationship with your teachers. And again, understanding where a teacher is in their zone of proximal development, especially when it comes to use of technology. Again, some teachers are going to be ready to dive in the deep end, and others are going to be reluctant to put their toe in the shallow end. And then again, understanding this is a two-way process. Number 4 is coaches as a learning designer or learning designer. Model and support educators to design learning experiences and environments to meet the needs and interests of all students. So those elements include fostering student agency, creating effective assessments, designing digital learning environments, and again, use and model instructional design principles. So, what does that look like? So, these are coaching cycles that you're going to use with your teachers to design classroom instructional goals. You're going to be guiding your teachers on using digital tools for assessments, and then have an understanding of those instructional design principles like UBD, the ADDIE model, and some of our technology frameworks like SAMAR, TPAC, and more. 5 is coaches as professional learning facilitators. So provide and evaluate the impact of professional learning for our educators and leaders to use technology to advance teaching and learning. And so these are some of those elements: needs assessments, understanding the adult learning theory, active learning, feedback, evaluating impact. So what does that look like? Conducting surveys and interviews with your staff, providing choice and relevancy in professional learning, provide timely and meaningful and ongoing feedback. That's essential for our teachers just as it is for our students. Evaluate impact of implemented strategies, tools, and more through data reviews, surveys. Coaches as a data-driven decision maker. In this strand, coaches will model and support the use of qualitative and quantitative data to inform their own instruction and professional learning. Some of those sub-elements include securely collecting data, interpreting the data to make informed decisions, empowering students to use data for goal setting, monitoring growth, and measuring progress. So what does that look like? That's collecting various data from tests, observations, surveys, and more. Understanding the importance of confidentiality. That goes back to those relationships and trust and being a connected learner. target goal setting and coaching based on data collected. Data should drive our work and what we do in our areas of deficiencies or needs. And as well, use those data points on strength to help connect other teachers with teachers that are doing it well in the classroom. And then digital notebooks, data tracking, and portfolios are essential to help empower students to use data and set their own goals and monitor their own growth. And then finally, coaches as a digital citizen advocate, where they model digital citizenship and support educators and students in recognizing the responsibilities and opportunities inherent in living in a digital world. So, digital citizenship and digital advocates go hand in hand. And so, those sub elements include encouraging the use of technology for civic engagement to better the community, having that healthy balance of the use of technology and respectful online use, media literacy, and helping stakeholders protect their personal data, and curating a digital profile. What does that specifically look like? So, extensions beyond the classroom, where service projects and initiatives take place using technology. Maybe you have students create PSAs or podcasts pertaining to something that's going to advocate for your school or your community. Parent and technology nights and workshops, where you embed digital citizenship in the content that you are trying to convey, not only to your teachers and your students, but their parents and the surrounding community. Recognizing reliability, validity, and bias in online sources. So you're a digital detective yourself, and being aware of online data security, especially any data that you're going to come in contact to pertaining to your teachers as well as your students. So you see that a lot of the ISTE standards for coaches have a lot to do with modeling, support, and being an advocate. So they do overlap a lot with ISTE standards for leaders and ISTE standards for educators. And being fluent in all of those, as well as the ones for students, are going to be essential to your mastery of the ISTE standards for coaches. Thank you for listening to this presentation. And these are my references.